All right, here we go. Early start, unique circumstances. I don't know who's busier. I'm out at the Thomas and Mack as in between the end of Cofield and Company and the beginning of a UNLV game. That's at 8 o'clock Vegas time.
I think you win, brother. I think you win.
No. Because not only do you have this podcast that you're doing, you do a radio show. You're also a high-level basketball coach, and you're trying to squeeze in as many practices as possible. I don't have responsibilities anywhere near that level.
I am trying to squeeze in extra practices, right? Your commitment. Listen, if I coach your team, you are not going to leave this season to be like, well, Petro's fat ass mailed it in. Like, that will not be it, right? You might leave the season going, I think he took it a little too serious, right? Like, that might be your reaction, but we will give the girls every chance to get better and progress and have as good a season as possible. It is, I will tell you, I've had many a parent reach out to me and say that their daughter's having a great time or they appreciate this or that. And that's really the reward. They didn't win in the games, but there is something about learning to, work together as a team and put in hard work and get some results, right? That's what it's all about. You
have to have your kids play sports. Have to.
Yeah. And like my situation, it's one of the reasons why, competitions, my oldest daughter being visually impaired, sports isn't an option, but she competes in like every academic thing. That's a really important thing that we think, to put in time, work, study, prep, and go. It's why for her, the National Braille Challenge and the spelling bees and geography bees and all that kind of stuff is, that's her competition. It does suck though. She misses out on the team sports part of things. And it's really, it makes me sad because it's a great learning lesson, right? So we have to try to figure out a way to teach those lessons a different way.
Yep. And you mentioned it, competition is the key. So whether it's, if it's freaking some club at school, kids have to learn how to win and lose. Otherwise, guess what real life provides? A lot of losses and they don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah. So you're saying we shouldn't play down in the B League and go 8-0? We should go ahead and take a swing at the top end and risk losing?
That's a tough decision. So I enjoyed. I wasn't on very many winning teams. I did coach softball as a 20-something, and I basically loaded a CYO team up with all these good athletes, and we kicked the living crap out of these poor Catholic kids. And I'm Catholic, but I enjoyed that. But you're right. I probably should have risen the level or taken it easy on the league, but instead we just slaughtered everybody.
I think there's a balancing act, right? I think you need to challenge yourself. You need to lose somewhere to learn how to come back from a loss. But I don't think you want to get your brains beat out either. I feel bad for the teams that misassess how good they are. And they're like, oh, we're going to play A or we're going to play B, and really they're a C team. And, they go through a season 0-10, and you look at the point differential, outscored by 189. Like, the kids just, they give up. They no longer have faith in it. So, yeah, it's a balance.
And as I was actually just saying on at the end of Cofield and Company, like all I got left now is sports. Like, because not that I was a high-level athlete, but I really like competing. And I was like a really intense competitor. I loved winning. I didn't like losing. I loved talking trash. I loved trying to get into fights. Loved it. And now all I got is sports. And, I was just talking at the end of Cofield and Company, and I was asking my partner, Adam Candy, I'm like, what teams are you still into? And he's a New York guy. I'm a New Jersey guy. And he says he really gets worked up about the Yankees. He was saying Arazarena, when he hit the dong in the series against the Rays and the Yankees, like he went crazy. And I was telling him towards the end of the show today, I'm watching Rutgers basketball. I actually have another screen here working. And the history of Rutgers. It's not very rich. They haven't made the NCAA tournament since I've been into school, or since I was in school. And last year they were going to make it, and then we had the pandemic hit, so they got denied access. That there was no tournament. So I got to tell you, I'm very much into it, and they better make the goddamn tournament. I'm not going to be happy the next couple of weeks.
You were firing out shots at me on Twitter. I'm like, what is this? You're like, I'm watching the Rutgers game while I'm on the air.
I just sent a big F-bomb to you. Yeah. So just getting annoyed.
I can honestly tell you, I do not know who or when Syracuse plays next.
It's been a lost season. You know what? Let's bring this up because I did a rant on this a couple of days ago. Duke lost this player, Jalen Johnson, who's a pro prospect. He's probably a top 15 pick. The season's not going the way it's supposed to go. His family makes the decision to opt out. Then all of a sudden there's some media guys who are like, he's got a camp. It was his family, all right? For him, it's a meaningless season. Duke sucked at that point, so he bails. And, of course, coaches and all their friends in the media then start to annihilate this guy. And then your guy, Boeheim, has to say something about it. It's like, dude, mind your own business. And a lot of this my conclusion is when you've got guys like, Izzo talking at the end of the season about, hey, it's an audition now for everybody. Do they want to be here? Do I want them here? And it's not exactly what he said, but he said the audition thing. When you get Boeheim constantly, he's done it to his own guys and other guys. Like you can't quit. You can't just bail. These old coaches, I don't think they get. Like, you're not getting all the players you used to get. There's a reason. The kids and their parents are not stupid. Like, there's still a recruiting game to play. How about not say anything?
Well, and that's why Calipari says, I would rather get kids to the NBA than win a championship. And Kentucky goes nuts, but then the pipeline of talent, he said that like 8-9 years ago, and the pipeline of talent keeps coming his way, right? Because that's what the parents want to hear. That's what the kids want to hear. So reality is, you've got to be there for the kids. If you're not there for the kids, there's going to be a problem. And like to your point about Boeheim, I know Jim thinks because he's been around for so long that he is now the conscience and the wise old wizard of college basketball. And I also think he was making the statement for Coach K. Like he and Coach K had talked about it on the phone, and I believe that those are the thoughts of Coach K. But notice Coach K doesn't say it.
Right.
Boeheim thinks he's doing a solid for saying it for him and standing up for college basketball and what's right. Listen, reality is times change. You either change with it or you fall behind. Jim Boeheim, when he was young, changed with the times, went out and got the talent. And he was up there and he was winning. Now times are changing, and you have to understand kids can transfer out. And Boeheim's not getting it done in the recruiting wars, and popping off about kids being out of line for going and following their NBA dreams is not helping him on the recruiting trail. Like I'd be like, yeah, more power to you, Jim, if he were landing the kind of recruiting classes that he used to land, but he doesn't anymore. And I think every up and coming and good recruiting coach out there is thrilled that Boeheim's saying that, because he's got a big brand behind him and he's screwing it up.
Yep. And there's two things on this. Whether you're Boeheim or Calipari or Duke and Coach K, if you recruit one and dones, you've signed up for this. There is no bitching afterwards that, oh, wait a second, they're more about themselves than my program. Yeah, you signed up for that. And secondly, I think you put it perfectly. Boeheim's doing a favor for Coach K. Like, dude, you're not in a position to be doing favors. The other thing is, there is one guy who's done it better than anyone else, who has adjusted to the kids, adjusted to Black Lives Matter, adjusted to all that stuff during the summer. And guess who that was? Nick Saban. Yeah. Right? Yeah. You ever does Nick Saban ever come across as 68 years old?
He did, for like a quick 5 minutes when he was complaining about up-tempo offenses and how many plays. And then he went, okay, nobody listened to me. So, okay, I'll play it right back at you, and I'll go recruit the best offensive guys out there. And he shifted his adjustment. Now you hear him saying, listen, the game is offensive, and you can't win games 13-10. You've got to be able to score points. And so he's gone out and recruited, 2 NFL first-round draft pick quarterbacks. His last 2 quarterbacks have been first-round picks. They're not just guys that hand off and check down. He's gone out and gotten playmakers at the quarterback spot, gotten wide receivers galore, and he's changed with the times. You either change or you get left behind.
We got the drinks being dropped off. I'm on the drinks table right now, so I apologize, folks. Sorry. Here, we'll move on, but I'm just trying to find a place with some light. So, where do you want to go with? What do you want to go with here? A little Tiger? Or you want to talk some college basketball in general?
Let's start with Tiger, because apparently he died based upon the coverage I saw at ESPN. The eulogies that were being written, the constant 24-hour coverage. I mean, I get it. Once we found out he's okay, like that's what it's all about. Is the guy okay? You certainly don't want to see anybody, killed. But the bottom line is, the world. He had a car crash, right? Like, and he's gonna live. And now back to your lives. And car crashes happen every day. I mean, I get it. If the conversation is, once we get a medical breakdown, which I know the doctors gave a little bit of one. But when we get like, okay, here it is, and he's progressing through it, we can talk about whether or not he ever plays golf again. What's his place in golf? But like today, at 1 o'clock, I literally turned on ESPN, ESPN2, MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News, and all 5 of them had pictures of the Tiger Woods car on its side, which was almost 24 hours old. I was like, is it really that hard to dig in and find something to discuss news-wise on the 3 news channels and sports-wise on ESPN?
I got a lot of this last night when we were reacting to it. A lot of people were like, it was probably his fault. Maybe he was whacked. The police have said he wasn't. And Truth from Duluth has the guarantee Tiger was screwing around on his phone. We don't know that. It's weird. I can't punch up the video. You know how much I love TikTok, right?
Right.
And I was watching a lady yesterday. It was a female voice, and she's like, "I live in the area," and she had it on her phone or computer where she was like doing a quick diagram of the road, and she was making this allegation that like there's no way he just ran off the road. That someone clearly at this sign where he wiped out because he wrecked the sign, someone made a turn in front of him and caused the accident. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe.
I mean, maybe we'll find out. I mean, I heard one report that he sped away from wherever he was leaving the hotel or whatever. Like,
oh, really?
Sped away. That's what somebody said today. I mean, I don't know, because I'll be honest with you, it's not a story. I'm reading every little thing that gets put out there. Like, he's in a car crash, his leg's busted up, he's not playing golf anytime soon.
Right.
Okay, now get better and let me know the time frame when it goes on. You know, if there's something sinister to it, okay, when you have what happened, why he left speeding away, did he speed away, what was his rate of speed, then fill me in. But looking again and again at his broken up car and then seeing video of him from age 5 to 45 swinging a golf club is not doing it for me.
Well, I mean, he is an iconic figure. He's had, a tremendous rise and a fall and then a rise again. He is one of, sports' bigger icons. True. And this was big business for the mainstream media and the sports media for 25 years now. So they get an opportunity to jump on this, they're going to jump on it. And the other thing is, I said this in multiple spots today, and I talked about it on the air. When I saw the accident in the morning Pacific time, and then I was tracking it throughout the day, I'm like, seriously, are we gonna have another Kobe here? This guy's gonna die. He's gonna be paralyzed. I'm like, come on, we don't need this. So from that standpoint, it is a massive story. And
yeah, up until
you could argue Tiger is as big as Kobe ever was around the world. So he's still that level guy. I think he was bigger. And I wasn't trying to be morbid when I said it, but I mentioned on the air today, like, I was a Kobe fan later in his career, but I wasn't a Laker fan. I was more of a Shaq guy. Like, if Tiger, again, I'm not wishing this happened, right? Certainly. If Tiger had passed away, like that, actually, I think that would have hit me more than Kobe.
Yeah, I think so too. But I will say this, and maybe I'm weird, but I don't care about their personal lives, right? Like, so why do people hate Tiger? I'm rooting for the guy on the golf course. I could give a crap what's going on in his personal life. I really don't. And I've told you, like, as far as how I do the show, I don't talk about someone's personal life unless it affects their play on the field, court, ice, links, what have you, right? If that's it, then we have to talk about it, right? It's affecting the game that I cover. I'm like, once Tiger's okay, then all right, go get better, go heal and get better. I wish him nothing but the best. I wish everybody I ever come across nothing but the best, because their life sucking doesn't make my life better. And too many people in this world that seem to think it does. That if you can crap on someone's head, somehow that's going to make your life better. It doesn't. So listen, I hope Tiger Woods gets healthy and wins 5 more majors, because I'm covering sports right now, and I want every great thing to happen on my watch. So I want him to break Nicklaus's record, right? Because I want to cover the guy who sets the record. So I hope he comes back and hobbles his way around a course and wins 5 more majors. Nothing would thrill me more. But until he can play golf, I don't need to see a constant update about his rehab.
So we have a lot to get to in a short amount of time to get there, like Smokey and the Bandit, right? I actually, in exchanging topics with you, I didn't mention 2 of the big topics today in Vegas. One, what would you think if the Royals or the Chiefs partnered up with winningpicks.com, like a tout service? Because the Vegas Golden Knights this morning announced a partnership with a picks site with a tout service, which we were like, wow, the line between the sports organizations and sports gambling, like 5 years ago, I would have never thought it would get blurred this badly. But a tout service, like, do you see any issue with it? Yeah, with an organization pushing a tout service?
I do, because like in between periods in the arena, is it like on the video board an ad going to come up? What's the name of the company?
I don't even have it in front of me. I looked at it one time.
Okay. And it was, let's make it Jimbo's Touts.
Right.
In honor of our buddy Renee being in here. His favorite fantasy football, Jimbo's fantasy football leaflet, what he always uses to prepare for the elites.
And
Jimbo's tout service, right? Like, is the video going to come on the video board in between intermissions and go, and make sure make sure you log on to Jimbo's tout service tomorrow, where we'll tell you why the Knights have no chance in their game against the Sharks, right?
Right.
We're all over the Sharks plus 1.5. Like, is that going to be up there in the arena, like, picking against, or is it going to be like, oh no, you can only show ads about why the Knights are going to win. Yeah, it's a very slippery slope.
Inside information. What about that? What about thinking, people thinking, hey, they've got inside information because tonight they're saying the Knights are a lock. And I know I didn't get to look at the website. My partner, Adam Candy, was saying there's some, boastful stuff like on all tout sites about winning numbers. And like what happens if this site, the official pick site of the Golden Knights, goes into an extended losing streak? Do I get to call up the Knights and go, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, hey, you're recommending this guy. What's going on?
Listen, I would be nervous if I were the PR department about that. Like, are we setting ourselves up for a huge, blowback? Well, who's he hitting? You? Me?
What do you mean?
Alex.
Oh yeah, no. Alex is a pretty renowned guy, especially on the NHL. And he's saying it's an odd move, and also.
Okay.
This does seem typical. I think NHL.com had the announcement too, or the Vegas Golden Knights site via through NHL.com had it up there. So I don't know. Gary Bettman's had a week. This is a little bit weird with a tout service partner of the Vegas Golden Knights and the first Tahoe game with VGK and the Avalanche, where the ice got all soft, and they're like, we're gonna have a 9-hour delay. Come back at 9:00 Pacific and midnight Eastern.
By the way, you've been there, right?
Tahoe, yeah.
Have you been there in the winter?
I have no. I don't think so. No.
I've only been there in the summer, but I will tell you this: the one thing that I don't get how this caught them by storm, because you're at 7,500 feet in a desert under the sun, right? The only reason, it's a desert. Make no mistake about it. But there's all these trees and everything, because there's snow melt that gets caught in the basin, but the air temperature and the climate around there is a desert. So desert. Lack of cloud cover, 7,500 feet, and you're shocked that the sun is melting the ice. It's the NHL. It was what was it, about 8 degrees here in Kansas City. I got the driveway cleared off with a snowblower, right, which leaves a thin layer of whatever there. 8 degrees, the sun comes out, it melts it off. At 8 degrees, why are you shocked that a bright sunshine at 75 at altitude is melting the ice? How is that not planned for nighttime all along?
Did you watch it? Did you watch any of the game or the delay?
I watched mostly delay, and then by the time they got back playing, out of sight, out of mind. It was beautiful. It was an incredible setup.
Right.
But and I know they wanted the light to show the scenery.
Right.
But it doesn't, unless you can plan for a cloudy day, you're screwed.
And then they come back for the restart at night, and then you can't see anything. So what's the goddamn point?
Yeah, great. You might as well have been out in the parking lot, in Ashtabula. You had no idea what the hell you were looking at.
So I want to hit some NFL with you. Is there a chance that the Chiefs can get J.J. Watt, Von Miller? And what do you think of the J.J. Watt tour here as he kind of extends this out a little longer than maybe most people would?
I think he's earned it, right? I think he's that kind of iconic figure in the game. And if people are going to, bring him in, then more power to him. I don't see, Chris Jones was on the station yesterday with the Zone, our guys on before me. And, he said, oh, yeah, it'd be great to have J.J. Watt. But I just, money-wise, I don't see how they make it work. I don't get what they could possibly do. And I think, the Chiefs are an example. They set their course on what 20 and 21 are going to be when they re-signed up everybody. And I think the Chiefs are an example for people to watch. They're a team that's going for it, but I think it's going to come at a cost of being able to be be their best. With Patrick Mahomes, you always have a chance, but to be their best in 22, 23, 24, they wouldn't have done what they did in 20 and 21. And these are the opportunities. J.J. Watt's come along. Do you have the cap room to go make a move? And I don't think the Chiefs will. Will the Raiders?
I hope not.
Why? Injury?
I don't think they have enough budget to be going after, high-profile older guys. So Marcus Williams would be their number one target to play safety, and they're going to have to pay him a good amount of money. I saw projections on PFF, maybe like a 5-year, $57 million, $30 million guaranteed. They can't mess around with guys like J.J. Watt and older guys on defense. Because they need too many players, so they got to spread the money out. If they want to spend a decent amount of money on Richard Sherman, that's fine. But I mean, the more numbers you look at with J.J. Watt, he's probably at best a guy who's going to be effective playing like 60% of the time.
Yeah,
right?
I think and to overpay for him. I mean, if you're a young team and you're on the way up and you're looking for a guy to show you how to win, if you're the Dolphins, I mean, I can see where that might make some sense. But I think teams like the Chiefs, they need guys that are going to play, and I think in Kansas City, their MO is signing free agents that are 25 or 26. Right? Because they would rather overpay for a guy that they feel is going to play all the games and be available for all the snaps than overpay for a guy who's been there, done that, and they worry, like you said, can only play 60% of the snaps. That's why they overpaid for Sammy Watkins. When they signed him, I think he was 24 or 25. And, now he's back on the free agent market at 28. Like, they want those younger guys. And, I do think there's good value in older guys if you've got your cap set up right. The Chiefs don't have their cap set up right now.
Do the Chiefs even make the call and say, hey, JJ, you want to win? Here's we can give you like $3 million a year with incentives. Is it worth the call?
No, because I think you'd be laughed at. I mean, I think you get word on what the market is, and when the market's more than you can, you might be like, hey, how's it going? Just checking in, seeing where your number's at. Ask the agent what he's getting, what he thinks the ballpark is, and then you say, listen, that's not our ballpark. If that doesn't materialize, give us a call. We're interested, but not at that level. If you can get it, more power to you. The guy's earned it. You're very complimentary, and you say, but if you find that that's not there, then give us a call.
So it sounded like I was busting on J.J. Watt for kind of stretching this thing out. He actually should wait just in case in the next 2 weeks, a miracle happens and the NFL actually finishes off all of its new deals with TV, and maybe the cap goes up. Right, there might be more room and more money out there for J.J. Watt. I've chatted about the TV negotiations briefly on my local show. I find these things fascinating, and my favorite angle of the whole thing is for all the people out there who are like, oh, the NFL, I'm not watching anymore. I'm boycotting. They're fucked. They're going downhill. Is that right? Because the NFL has now turned around and gone to every one of its carriers and said, Disney, Fox, NBC, CBS, you know what we're going to do for you? We're going to double the rates. You're going to pay double. Let's go. This is awesome.
That's what I think is intriguing is, do the networks have the balls to come together and say no? Like, can they hold the line? Or is the threat of Netflix and Amazon Prime, is that enough to scare them into – and will the NFL really go down that road? Would they really take the noon and throw it, in your case, 10 and 1, here in KC, noon and 3, will they really take those off over-the-air television? I mean, I think that day will come.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we're at it yet.
I'm ready for Amazon to jump in. So that guy's got unlimited money. I hope he starts swinging a big stick. And
he's not even there anymore, though.
Well, he's not the CEO.
He's step. I mean, I don't know when it's effective, but he is stepping down as the head guy.
But this feels like an effort to divest for future deals, like maybe by the Redskins.
Yeah.
But what if from a bit? It doesn't whether he's there or not. It would be a brilliant business move for Amazon. I mean, what is it? The Disney deal for Monday Night Football, which is I think the crappiest deal, and it's the highest rate because they continue to bend ESPN and Disney over a barrel. That's $1.9 billion a year, and they came at the NFL came at Disney and ESPN and said we want $3.5 billion now. I mean, for Amazon, if it led to future sales, you're talking about a guy who started the company's worth. I don't even, what is he worth now? $175-200 billion. Yeah. I mean, if they're like, yeah, we want a $40 billion deal over 10 years. I mean, he'd be like, okay, it's great business. Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as long as it comes with my Amazon Prime subscription already, I'm down with it. As long as I get it with my, my slippers and my underwear and my vitamins and, my pens and everything else I order on that, then I'm all for it. Listen, it'll definitely mean we jack up the rates. But I mean, I think it is the future. I think it's going to be there in some way, shape, or form down the road. I think, the thing that's intriguing to me is the NFL has plenty of suitors. And I think you don't want to piss off the network TV. And I think network TV isn't a bind because I think they need it. I think it's the main thing because they're shows. But as they morph towards streaming more and more, I mean, isn't that what we're headed to? Like just clicking through streams, and that's what Peacock is. That's what Paramount is. That's what all that is the future is. It's all streaming, and over-the-air television, whether you like it or not, is going away. right? At least the bulk of the quality programming is going to go away. But when you've got all these different carriers, what you need is inventory. And to me, I brought this up today on my show. How many teams are in London in the EPL? The most expensive league in sports, the most expensive teams in sports. The number of Manchester United is the most expensive team in professional sports. How many teams are in London, the city of London, in the English Premier League?
I actually don't know. I'm not a big EPL guy.
Right? So right now, and it changes because they have relegation, there's 5.
Wow.
West Ham, Tottenham, Chelsea, Arsenal, and who am I forgetting? West Ham, Tottenham. I'm forgetting one. Crystal Palace. All right, so there are 5 teams in the EPL in London, a market of 14 million. Like, the NFL needs the inventory for all the different carriers. You can have, the networks or whatever their streaming services become, along with Amazon Prime and Netflix, and it'll be on the Disney stream, which will be ABC, ESPN, obviously. But you can get them on all those different things if you have the inventory of games. So why they're not expanding? New York City has 40 million people. They have 2 teams in New York. It's amazing to me. I said today, it's amazing how the people who scream capitalism and free market, the uber rich in this country, run operations that are absolutely not capitalistic, nor a free market. And then they run them under a socialist approach of having taxpayers pay for the stadiums and the infrastructure to build the stadiums while taking all the revenue, which means they then run their operation in a socialistic environment like a fascist. Yet, who screams America and capitalism and free market more than NFL owners? And they're the worst example of what it is they say they want.
Yep. That's awesome. I love this element. I've never understood. Does DirecTV and now AT&T, do they have pictures of Goodell? Like, what do they have on the NFL that they're able to get this deal? They're the only carrier of Sunday Ticket. It's like $1.2 billion right now. And I think a lot of people would argue, I mean, it's already been established. AT&T's purchase of DirecTV was a fucking nightmare. It's a disaster. And the NFL, the Sunday Ticket is like the only thing keeping it afloat. How do they ever get away with paying $1.2 billion? That package should be the most expensive of everything they do on TV, the NFL.
The problem is they're cannibalizing the noon games. Like, since they started that, think about it. They now play Thursday night games, right?
Yeah.
They've taken away some of the, Sunday night now gets priority on what the best game is, right? So they get to go grab the best game. They do a doubleheader Monday in the opener. They put an extra Thursday on opening weekend. Like, they suck games out of there. That's my point. The league should expand to 40 teams as fast as possible. And I'm not saying, 8 teams tomorrow, but they should expand to 40 teams because there's an appetite. There's no better way to expand your fan base than to give somebody their own team to root for. And like I said, you could expand with 5 teams just in New York. You can absolutely put one in Chicago. You can put 2 more in the LA metro area, San Diego, Oakland, San Antonio, Austin, Portland. There are numerous places to go with NFL teams, but Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, you absolutely could get 8 teams, get to 40, and then you've got more games to spread around. What's amazing is these guys are all billionaires, and they've got the goose that laid the golden egg, and they still pretty much kind of screw it up. By the way, it's like $2 billion, is what they would charge every owner to come in with an expansion team. So there's $16 billion to spread around everybody. That's $500 million each that they would make just off expansion. And then when you have all the inventory, you can give a real, then you can go say, hey, Sunday Ticket's really worth something because now we have all these games. But like the 3 o'clock, the late games on Sunday Ticket, there's 2 or 3.
Right.
It's not even worth having. It's the noon games, and then you're done.
So you'd want to expand beyond 32
to 40.
To 40, okay. And then is it?
In each division.
And there's no relegation, though, right? They're all NFL?
No, they're all NFL. I mean, listen, I would love to go ultimately to 100 teams with 40 at the highest level and 60 in lower levels.
But Soren, what about college football then, man?
I mean, I'm honest, right? And I live by the words of Preacher in the movie Do the Right Thing. Lars, always do the right thing. I do the right thing sometimes when it's not in my own best interest, because once you get in the habit of doing the right thing, you will live your life a lot happier. Sometimes it means a little more work for you. Sometimes it helps out somebody more than it helps out you. But in the big picture of things, you'll sleep easy and you'll feel good about yourself if you always do the right thing. The kids are ready to make a check. They should get paid. It's bullshit that because of our traditions and history, we want the band and we want the tailgate outside the horseshoe, so we're going to make them go to Ohio State for 3 years before they go to the league. It's total bullshit.
All right, so what's your take on the stalemate now with the Texans and Deshaun Watson, and how much power should Watson have in determining where he goes?
Riddle me this. Name a guy who said, I'm done, I'm out, I'm not playing here, who ended up playing there and was happy to play there and played there for a long time.
Do you have anybody?
No, I don't. This is one thing. Usually I have the exception, but I don't. Le'Veon Bell didn't go back to the Steelers. Back in the day, Sean Gilbert left the Rams. Or Sean, was that it? The defensive tackle from USC?
Yep.
Dan Williams left the Broncos back in the day, ultimately ended up signing with the Chiefs after sitting out a year. I mean, these things don't go the way of the team. Look in other leagues. James Harden is not playing for the Houston Rockets right now. He's playing for the Brooklyn Nets. And the Texans are morons for not – they're allowing teams to fill their quarterback slots, which are taking the Lions out of the shop, out of the bidding war. They're taking the Rams out of the bidding war because they're like, we're not sitting around and waiting. The Colts are out of the bidding war. They got Carson Wentz. And they're This is the dumbest thing ever. When a guy – like when he tells you he's out, like they absolutely have to fix this guy and get him back in there. Otherwise, they're the dumbest jackasses ever. Because once the season starts, they've lost all leverage. Because he's proven he'll sit out. And so now you got a malcontent that's going to sit out. No one's going to offer you big bucks because they know you're screwed.
I love that. And that's the thing. Almost no one mentions about Deshaun Watson. He will sit out. Like, they've played this game before, and people are like, he's not going to sit out. He'll fucking sit out. Harden was done. Harden was going to sit out. Now, James Harden's much more wealthy than Deshaun Watson, but Deshaun Watson knows that he's got 8 or 10 years at least left of earning. He can sit out.
I love the one where people go, he's not going to lose a year's worth of money. Bob Glauber, I love Bob. New York Newsday, my NFL insider, said it today. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, why wouldn't he? Right? Like, to get to where he wants to be, he's got so much. Like, that's the thing is he has so much money right now that he's like, look, they will fold. They fold. The Steelers folded and moved them. Like, maybe I sit out a year. Okay, I'll sit out a year. What looks like going to be another COVID year, I'll sit it out like a lot of other guys did, and then they'll have to move me. I will prove my point, and they will have to move me. And somebody will get him for 50 cents on the dollar after he sat out a year. I mean, listen, and there's also the point that the Texans ownership and the organization is considered bad people. And so at a time that athletes have been empowered to fight for what they believe in, why wouldn't Deshaun Watson stand his ground and say, I'm not playing for this kind of organization and make the ultimate statement?
Think about the endorsement. If he takes his stand with all that's going on and the Texans are painted, even more so just an awful organization, Deshaun Watson will make the money back in freaking endorsements.
Yeah, and here's the other part of it. For somebody who says, well, they kept Colin Kaepernick out. Okay, try to keep a second black quarterback out of the league. I mean, blackball a second black quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's not standing up for a cause. He's just like, listen, this team sucks. And everyone in the league and everyone around the league knows the team sucks and the organization sucks and the owner sucks. And so every other team's going to blackball him and not make a move for him? No. And the Texans will be skewered in their own market. There'll be boycotts on tickets. They'll be protesting. If Deshaun Watson holds his ground, and I'm with you, I think he will, they will be forced to take the best offer that they have when they start losing all their fans.
This is one of the first times in media history, pro sports history, where the smear job will not work. It will not work.
Yeah.
Because in the past, you would, that was Boston sports media. I mean, that's part of the legacy is when, it was time to step up and help out the Red Sox, especially, and just destroy a guy before you sent him out of town. A guy was move on. A guy was loved, and all of a sudden he's a complete piece of shit when he wants to get out. Just, hey guys, can you do us a favor? Just annihilate him. Not gonna happen now.
And that's what's amazing is he's not being annihilated in Houston. The Texans are.
Yep.
So they don't even have that. They don't even have the sentiment of, you don't want to be a sock? Screw you. Like, that's not what they're saying in Houston.
Who's next in the quarterback carousel? Who are you watching most closely?
I am intrigued by Ben Roethlisberger. I don't think it's quite as much of a done deal in Pittsburgh. I think he'll probably end up staying there. I think they'll extend him. He'll end up getting, $18 million signing bonus, $1 million base pay, so he'll count the same. He'll get the same $19 million in cash that he was going to get, but it'll bring and then they'll prorate it out, and that'll prorate out, whatever it is, and saves $22 million over 4 or 5 years. So they'll bring his cap number down by like $17 million. But I do think there's a chance that the Steelers go, listen, it was bad at the end, and you're done. And I can tell you that back in the day, and I even said this to Andy Reid at his quick press conference on Monday after the Super Bowl about looking at the offseason, about getting out from under guys. I said, look, I remember covering the Chiefs, and I just said Eagles to Andy Reid, but the people in the organization used to say to me long before Andy Reid was there, listen, we have to become more like the Eagles and Steelers. They might get out from under a guy a year too early, like he goes and has one good year someplace else, but they never get out from under a guy a year too late. They never have a guy with a big number playing like shit. And that's how the Steelers and Eagles operated. Andy Reid was that guy, and that's why I think it's going to be intriguing to see what Andy Reid does with the hurt offensive tackles. Mitchell Schwartz, by the way, having surgery today, finally on his back. But, the Chiefs have to get that way. Every team should be that way. Better to be a year early than a year late when it comes to a big contract. And so that's what intrigues me about Roethlisberger is, can the Steelers continue? Can they get back to that approach? Because really what they should be doing is being knee-deep in some kind of secondary quarterback market and looking to make a move. If there's a quarterback that they like, they need to be making a move. And I'm going to be real intrigued to see where Mac Jones goes. If he truly is the 5th quarterback, and I won't be shocked if he doesn't go in front of Trey Lance before it's all said and done. But I'll be interested to see if somebody isn't on the move up into the 10, 11, 12 range for a guy like Mac Jones, and it could be a team like the Steelers. Maybe they hang on to Ben Roethlisberger. They do a post-June 1 cut, play it out over 2 years with half and half. But I'll be intrigued to see if people aren't making a move for like a Mac Jones. Patriots will be in a spot to draft him, but that's probably the team you might have to get in front to go get him. So I think Roethlisberger's intriguing because I'm not convinced he's definitely back because he looked terrible down the stretch.
Awful. Totally awful. I saw a Pro Football Talk tweet the other day where they were saying, what would you rather have, Roethlisberger this year at $19.5 million or Cam Newton at $9.5 million? And when my initial look at it, I was like, neither at that number,
yeah.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure from a salary cap standpoint when you're on the books for $41.25 to Roethlisberger, like how much can you lower his salary?
Yeah, I agreed. Well, you can get him down, like I said, if you prorate it all out, you can basically take off. I think it's $22 million, and then if you'd sign him to a 5-year deal, you can prorate it out over 5 years. So it'd be 4 plus the bonus and everything. They could get him down to 23.5, 24.
Okay, let's close on some baseball, and then we have a couple of wildcard topics. What'd you make of the Mariners deal with this executive talking about, some of the stuff about prospects not speaking English, and that offended a lot of people in the game.
But let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Should that have offended people? To me, I think that was a tag on to make sure they had enough on the guy to fire him. Right? Because saying what everybody knows every team is already doing, and that is keeping guys down to limit their service time, it happens all the time in baseball, and everybody knows it happens. Now, it's a problem when you say it, because now the prospects, like happened with their top prospect, come out and fire out. But he's not good at English. How do you describe someone who doesn't speak a language well? What is the way that's okay if the man doesn't speak the language well? What is an acceptable way? And listen, I'm not one of these who's like, I'm tired of this political correctness and all this bullshit. No, that's not me. It's not political correctness. It's having sensitivity towards human beings, right? Sexist, racist, homophobic, asinine things have been said for a long time. And then now people want to bitch and continue to talk that way under the veil of this political correctness and bullshit. No, a lot of language needs to be changed, right? But I am somewhat like, what is an acceptable way to say a guy's English isn't good?
There isn't really. I guess, hey, we'd like to see him work on a second language.
Because I do this. This is part of what I do. New players come into the Royals organization, And I asked the Royals front office, I asked their PR guys when I'm trying to set up like an interview or do whatever. If I were normally I'd be at spring training right now in Surprise. And I would go up and be like, hey, I want to talk to this guy. Tell me, how's his English? And they'll be like, pretty good. You're probably going to want Pedro to come over and translate for him. Because like if you're going to ask him anything in depth, he's going to need Pedro, which I would always do. And I would get Pedro and he would translate, and then we would edit out his translation, or we would edit out the Spanish part. And I would say, listen, we're going to just give you, I mean, it depended on what it was. If I thought the Spanish was important, we'd have it. And then for a while, the Royals have admitted that they didn't translate word for word, and they cleaned up things when guys made mistakes. So that's a topic I've had, that they always look out for their players, and Pedro Grafal would always do that. But like sometimes we'd be like, I'd just play answers, and I would just give Pedro Grafal's answer. I'd say, hey, I asked so-and-so about this. Pedro Grafal translated, and he mentioned the fact that this happened. And boom, and then we played a Grafal thing. But I have to ask him, how is his English?
Right.
They have to answer to me. It's pretty good. I think you can do it. Or you know what? I think you're going to want a translator. Like, what is the socially acceptable way to describe someone who is new to a second language?
Yeah, it's a touchy subject. And I think talking about it in the media and how you're going to present someone is different the organization's concerns. I guess if you get what I'm trying to say, like, because I did the same thing, for years covering the UFC. I would ask them, and then there were times I'm like, yeah, I'm not comfortable putting them on an audio medium where they can't be seen. Like if I do a video with them, I think it's a little bit easier to understand them, and I also don't want to put the person in a bad position, the non-English speaking person in a bad position.
I go out of my way to point out that you want to hear me do an interview in Spanish? I'm a moron. I don't know any Spanish. It's ridiculous and it's embarrassing, and it's the biggest regret I have is not taking Spanish and doing a good job of learning Spanish. It's ridiculous. And so I always say, listen, any translation or anything a guy says when it's his second language, especially when it's a new second language, you have to take with a grain of salt, and you have to give him a wide berth as to what his meaning is. You can't be like, he said this. Yeah, well, and he's also, working through the language, and I think you have to have that. But I mean, to me in this situation, to get back to our point about Seattle, is he screwed up because he opened him up to criticism and a potential lawsuit, and to be the tip of the spear of the MLBPA's push to change the rules and really take away a lot of power from the teams. That's why they wanted to fire him. And they were ready to fire him for that. And they thought, you know what? There's a little bit of a wrongful termination when he comes and his evidence is, here's what we said in meetings. It's exactly what we were doing. Here's the emails that this is what we were doing. Here's this club talking about holding a guy down. Bullshit if you have grounds to fire me. When your owner is talking about do this, you can't fire me because it now gets out there. Like if that's there, they went, oh shit, we need more on him. You mentioned guys don't speak Spanish well. Well, if they don't, or don't speak English well, or if they're new to the language, how else would you describe it?
Right. I love this angle too. If I were a fan of the Mariners, I like what Viva Los Royals says here. I think the bigger issue is that he was complaining that he had to pay a translator. Hey, Mariners, if you're in the business of baseball and you're not going to pay fucking translators, get out. What? So you don't want Latino players? We got no shot. We have no shot to compete if you're that cheap and you don't want to get translators. Get out of here.
He's 100% right. Absolutely, that's the bigger part. But the part that's being reported is he said a guy doesn't speak English that well.
Right.
Well, if you say I don't speak Spanish that well, you're not an asshole. You're 100% right.
Right. Do you have anyone in mind for home run champion in Major League Baseball this year?
I will tell you, what's the number on Jorge Soler?
I'm going to find it for you here. The favorite overall is Mike Trout at 12-1.
Okay.
Believe it or not, my boy Joey Gallo is the fourth choice at 16-1.
Yeah, let me tell you.
Joey!
Cofield's batting average, you're so happy we're going to on-base percentage, by the way. Cofield's batting average in our fantasy baseball team is like 206. Like every piano-moving asshole that can hit the ball over the wall but strikes out 250 times is always on Steve's team.
I had
an old hurt guy.
in a shortened season, I had one of the greatest home run hitting teams ever because I had like Miguel Sano, and I have some young. I had some and Joey Gallo. So let's see. Trout's the favorite at 12-1. Let me find Soler. Ooh, 50-1.
I think there's good value there. He had 48 home runs 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's in his prime, and he's playing, and it's a contract year. Like, I think there's great value on Jorge Soler. 48 home runs at Kauffman Stadium. The man has immense power. And add in Benintendi and Carlos Santana to get on base. Maybe some protection if Hunter Dozier bounces back behind him. I think they've definitely got, they've got the potential to be 7 deep with real hitters, and some of them really good. And so at least around him, there's going to be protection. Like, I think it may go like Benintendi, Whit Merrifield, or Whit, Benintendi, Soler, Carlos Santana behind him. So I think there's some value at 50-1. Don't sleep on that one.
The other favorites are Acuna at 12, Soto at 14.
Oh, still like Soto.
Yeah, he's got a shot. Eloy Jimenez 18, Bellinger 20, Alonso 20, Judge 20, Stanton 25, Tatis Jr. is 30-1, Manny Machado's 40-1, Arenado's 40-1, Matt Olson 40-1.
I would probably play Stanton, Tatis Jr., and Soler. Small bets, all of them good payoffs. Those would be my 3 plays. Because we don't know what the ceiling is on Tatis.
Right.
Yeah, I know he's played, 150 games and hit 39 home runs?
Yep.
Again, a big ballpark, that hurts him. But, Barry Bonds set records in a ballpark that isn't, a chip shot.
Wild card topic to close is I'm going to have to bail here before I freak out the cheerleaders.
People, in case you don't know, Cofield is a sideline, sometimes color analyst, sometimes play-by-play guy for UNLV.
Never play-by-play. I would never steal that honor from John Sandler, but color on TV. And we have the tip here is in about an hour, so I'm going to go down to the floor and go through all my protocols as I'm sitting up here without a mask on.
Your world, Steve. I moved everything around in my schedule. They moved my girls' basketball practice to fit you. Then found out that you meant 6:15 Pacific.
I thought you were confused on that.
I was, and I.
Sorry.
It's my fault. We got practice done at 6. It's all right.
You live in a fat market. A gluttonous market.
Okay.
How long are you still pitching Hardee's?
No, it's been a long time.
Okay. Arby's has a sandwich that we're fascinated by on Cofield Company. We talk about food every day. Have you seen the Meat Mountain?
Yeah. Is it actually going to deliver on what they say it is? Is this like that, that Kentucky Fried Chicken where they had 2 chicken, fillets and then a bunch of meat, and the fillets were the buns and there was a bunch of meat in between? Like, I kind of heard about it. It's like 5 different – it's literally like – every meat we got, just pile it on some shit.
It's got 2 chicken tenders, slices of roast beef, pit smoked ham, corned beef, 13-hour smoked brisket, Angus steak roast beef, pepper bacon, cheddar and Swiss, as it says here on the website, somewhere in there.
What's the calorie content? It's got to be
I don't want to click on it. I don't know. I don't want to do it.
Why?
Nutritional info. Let's see if I can get the PDF to work here. Well, it says it's keto friendly. That's all I need to know.
So there's no bun? It's literally just a mountain of meat?
No, there's a bun.
Because I will tell you that, I did have for lunch, because, I took a week off from the carb thing and, just went to town. And then I got back on the carb thing. And so lunch today was roast chicken, turkey, and a little bit of roast beef chopped up with some mustard and mayo on top. So I will eat a meat mountain. I've done it before.
They just have to make it available here. I saw Rich Ornberger, who played in the NFL and does radio in San Diego. He had a video out last night trying it. I went to an Arby's the other day, and I didn't know the name of it. But I went up to the drive-thru, and I was like, what's going on? You don't have the meat extravaganza? And he was like, what? What's going on? I'm like, the big meat sandwich. He's like, not yet. I'm like, all right.
And that's funny because you mentioned Hardee's, which where you are, it's Carl's Jr., which is a funny story that we have to market them as different names because regionally people got pissed when they tried to change the name either direction.
Oh, really?
They were going to make them all Carl's Jr., and all the Hardee's people got pissed. But they're the ones that have done the burger with a cheesesteak on top.
Yep.
So the meat mountain is Arby's saying, "Hold my beer."
Yep. I love it. I can't wait to have it.
I get it with no bun.
Of course. We might. We've been proposing since we've been shut down. We haven't had an eating contest in a while. I think we tried to do 100 chicken nuggets, like during the course of the show, because apparently Akeem Olajuwon during breaks with the Dream Team used to eat like 100 nuggets, and we tried to do it. And
you tried as an individual or as a show?
As a show, each of us had 100 nuggets.
Oh my Lord, I could do it, no problem. Could you do it?
No, it wasn't even close. And the problem is you got to eat them quick because they steam in the box. So like after half an hour, they're like soggy mush and they get heavier. No, I didn't come close. And Adam Hill did finish, but then like ran out and was like vomiting on his way to the bathroom.
The greatest eating feat we had was in college at Sutter's Mill on movie night. They'd play a movie and they had this like, cheap beers. And I don't know how many pitchers of beer we had, but I remember 3 of us ate 100.5 wings. There was one wing that was broken in half. We ate 100.5 wings in one sitting.
Yeah, I can eat in a marathon, but I'm not a speed eater, so I got no shot.
Yeah, well, when you get old, you're
I got nothing.
You get fat and bloated, and you're like, oh God, I can't handle this anymore.
Out of control. I'm not in shape enough to be a competitive eater, which is an amazing statement because they really are.
The fact that I walked, exercised with my oldest daughter, had basketball practice, and had to play to like fill out the team. I'm sitting here with ice on my knee as we speak.
Oh no!
Having this.
You actually played.
That's being a fat old man. Oh God, yeah. It's. I'm so glad there's not somebody there filming it. It has to be pathetically embarrassing. 500-pound, near 50-year-old piece of shit.
The bowling ball.
The court. It is like I have no right knee anymore.
Yeah.
And so it is. My defense is so matador. It's insane. The girls, but it builds their confidence because like, oh, we smoked Coach Petro. They go to the game thinking they're awesome because they put it on the deck and went by me.
We can beat guys. We can beat boys. All right, Petro, I appreciate doing this early.
Always, brother. Always.
And thanks to the audience who chimed in. And obviously the podcast, the video version will be up as soon as we close it. So we'll spread the word that we started a little bit earlier today.
Next week, right?
Yep, back to regular time next week.
Okay, because I don't know what to do if I'm not up till at least 3 a.m.
I know, right? You're all thrown off now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Have a great call of the game.
Yep. See you guys. Thanks. Later. Rutgers! Yes!